For most of human history, we were, well, nothing special. Just another animal, an ape, kind of minding its own business in a corner of Africa. So the big question is, how did we get from that to, well, this, ruling the entire planet? Let's dive in and uncover the secrets behind our totally unlikely rise to power. Okay, first, let's get a little perspective, right? Our extended family, the hominids, they've been around for a whopping 6 million years. Our closer cousins, the Neanderthals, have been on the scene for 400,000 years. And us, Homo Sapiens, we're the new kids on the block. We only showed up about 300,000 years ago. Seriously, we were so late to the party. And yeah, that brings us right to the central mystery of our story. Think about it. We weren't the strongest animal out there, not even close. We weren't the fastest or the biggest. So how in the world did we, against all odds, end up running the show? Well, the answer starts with our first big, let's call it a software upgrade. A massive, profound shift in the way our brains worked, how we think, and how we talk to each other. So picture this. Around 70,000 years ago, something just clicks. It's what we call the cognitive revolution. And this was way, way more than just learning to grunt in a more complex way. It was about learning to tell stories, to invent ideas, to literally imagine things that you can't see or touch, things that don't physically exist. And that right there became our superpower. These shared fictions. I mean, think about it. Gods, nations, laws, money. You can't find those under a rock. They don't exist in the physical world. They're just stories that we all agree to believe in. And it's that shared belief that allowed us to work together in massive, massive numbers. The result? It was a total game changer. While a group of Neanderthals could maybe cooperate in groups of, say, 150 at most, Sapiens could get thousands, even millions, to rally behind a shared story. That ability to cooperate flexibly in large numbers gave us an absolutely decisive, unstoppable edge. Our relatives? Well, they just couldn't keep up. All right, so we've got the mental software sorted. But the next big revolution, it completely changed how we lived. And it came with a pretty hefty price tag. A trade-off that, honestly, we're still dealing with today. So, about 10,000 years ago, we did something we'd never done before. We stopped wandering. We settled down. This was the agricultural revolution. Suddenly we had farming, we had permanent homes, and crucially, we had a surplus of food. This was the bedrock, the very foundation for the first great civilizations and empires the world had ever seen. Now that sounds amazing, doesn't it? A huge step forward for humanity. Well, maybe not. The historian Yuval Noah Harari has a different take. He calls it history's biggest fraud. His argument is that we didn't domesticate wheat domesticated us, and we walked right into its trap. Let's just do a quick side-by-side. As hunter-gatherers, life was risky, sure, but our diet was really varied, we worked less, and we were healthier. Then, as farmers, yeah, we got a reliable food surplus, but what did it cost us? Backbreaking labor, a much more limited diet, and we started living crammed together in settlements where diseases just ran rampant. And if you want cold, hard proof, here it is. Archaeologists have looked at ancient skeletons, and they found that the average male height actually shrank by 6 inches after we started farming. We went from about 5'9" down to 5'3". That is a massive, clear sign of worse nutrition. And here's the really crucial part. That food surplus, it created the idea of property. And once you have property, you get inequality. For the very first time in human history, we start seeing these rigid social pyramids. You see it in places like ancient Egypt or in legal codes like Hammurabi's, where it literally says that a noble's bone is worth more than a slave's. Okay, so we've built these huge, sprawling societies. But this just creates a whole new problem, doesn't it? How on earth do you get millions of total strangers to trust each other and cooperate? I mean, in a small hunter-gatherer tribe, everyone knows everyone. But in a massive city or a giant empire, not a chance. You're going to need a new set of even bigger stories to glue it all together. And so, 3 incredibly powerful, unifying stories emerge to solve this problem. First up, money. This is a story of universal value that literally everyone trusts, making it possible for strangers to trade. Next, empires. This is a story of political order, uniting millions of different people under one set of rules. And finally, religion. A story about cosmic purpose, giving people a shared moral code and a sense of identity that could cross any border. So these three big ideas, money, empires, and religion, they start connecting the entire world. And that sets the stage for our final and by far most dramatic revolution. This is the one that would give us godlike power, but it would also force us to ask some really tough questions about what success even means. About 500 years ago, the scientific revolution kicked off. But here's the crazy part. It wasn't driven by what we knew. It was driven by what we didn't know. The real breakthrough was the discovery of ignorance, the radical, humble admission that we don't have all the answers. And that one thought, it fueled a relentless, insatiable quest to explore, to experiment, and to discover. And the results? Whoa, they have been absolutely staggering. In just the last 200 years or so, we combined science with capitalism, and that created an explosion. Our population skyrocketed. Our energy consumption went through the roof. Our economic production, it was completely unprecedented. We started to literally reshape the planet to fit our needs. Fast forward to today, and that power is at an all-time high. It's not just about reshaping the world around us anymore. Now, with things like biotechnology and artificial intelligence, we're starting to reshape life itself. We're on the brink of taking control of our own evolution. Think about that. So, that brings us to now. Here we are. We've journeyed from being just another ape in the crowd to becoming the masters of this planet. We now wield powers that our ancestors, well, they would have called them divine. But this leads to the ultimate question, doesn't it? After all this progress, all this unimaginable power, are we any happier? Are you happier than one of our foraging ancestors was 30,000 years ago? And as we stand right on the edge of becoming something entirely new, we have to ask ourselves, what are we going to do next? What will we, the animals who became gods, do with all this power? Because the future of life itself is now in our hands.